So today I was asked to talk about Kundalini awakening, why Kundalini awakening brings suffering to someone and so on. I think that the majority of people cannot experience true Kundalini awakening, nor can understand the essence of true spiritual awakening, because Kundalini awakening is supposed to be a spiritual awakening. What is spiritual awakening? It means that you awake, you go beyond the human context, you go beyond human understanding of your existence. So Kundalini awakening means you awake to the subtle realm, to the subtle being, on an individual, on collective level, and so on. So you become aware of the phenomenon which you weren't aware of before. Whatever symptoms people talk about, that they have different kind of monkeys, frogs jumping all over their body, or heat and cold and all these are the signs of metabolic change, hormonal changes, which are, of course, expressed once the person becomes aware of the subtle being and subtle phenomena, and the pituitary gland is activated or goes through certain activation. Now, when would it happen? It would happen when you become aware. So the whole process of, or the phenomenon of Kundalini awakening is about being or becoming aware of self on a deeper, subtle levels. And the deeper you go, the further you go, the more you refine these aspects within yourself, the emotional, the physical, the mental, but it's kind of happening in synergy. The more you are able to dive even deeper into subtler realms and understand the essence of the natural world, the man-made reality, different kind of notions of subtle being, also different forces. You come across different forces, and this is where the problem arises. Most of the people think that it's just enough to get activation. Activation doesn't mean anything. Sometimes you just invite more trouble than understanding. The subtle body means all your thoughts, all your emotions, your genetic information, the information which you carry within yourself from the past. Now you will need to awake to all of these. Then there are such things as afflictions, as different kind of karmic entanglements, occult afflictions, and so on. So you will need to deal with them. Now, in order to deal with them, one needs to have such a true parampara, Siddha parampara, to have protection against all kinds of forces, all kinds of traps, and also have to have enough awareness to understand what kind of potential things one may face during this path. So to have Kundalini awakening doesn't mean anything, because you just have some kind of a buzz, you awake to the subtle body. So what? Your metabolism a little bit activates, and then what? Then you mirror yourself, the first trauma, the first problem arises there, and you don't know how to face it, and you're stuck. Or you start stagnating or facing issues, and you don't see why, because your awareness is not able to go into the depth and to see the roots, and neither you have a true guidance to make you understand. True guidance happens through one's own being. When the true teacher, has a capacity to transmit within, so that there is no separation or superiority, inferiority complex there. Demonic teachings, spiritual teachings, which are currently prevailing all over, and mostly all of them are of such nature, 99%, does not matter, 99.9% I would say, doesn't matter who is there behind it, holy people, names, forms, it is all bogus. and has no true lineage or parampara, ability to transmit the higher forms of knowledge, because there are no vessels that can contain such knowledge. So if you want to understand what Siddha teaching is, you have to go beyond the human notion and context of understanding yourself. Then you can get in touch with or have an ability, a legibility, and maybe a chance to get in touch, to a glimpse with the Siddha being, or that reality that cannot be so far contained, understand, deciphered by the human current state of consciousness and also the body. Now you have to first of all understand where you are. You live in a hell-like realm. This whole earth contains different type of hell. Some are a little bit better, some are a little bit worse. At this point of time, that's why it's called Kali Yuga, because Kali Yuga means, even if it was an ascension from Kali Yuga into Dwapara, it's still the same, because the overall conscious and intelligence level is very poor, and there's a lot of jealousy, comparison, and all these features within the collective consciousness that describe this current age as demonic age. Demonic means the qualities that cause more separation between the beings and cause pyramidic structure, superiority, inferiority structures, social structures, religious structures, and so on, spiritual structures. And so all our spirituality at the moment is based on who dominates who is more powerful, yet no one knows really the true power, because the true power is like existence. It's absolutely humble and impossible to imagine. So it's kind of void, it's like nothing, and yet it's so potent and so mighty. And so is the true power. The true power is humble in its nature. It doesn't demonstrate itself, yet it is fully aware. And in order to come to the point of understanding Siddha teaching, which is about the natural world, which is about the constitutes of the manifestation and the existence beyond the manifestation we know of, we need to transcend within. And transcendence for this day and age means we have to refine ourselves enough to realize what is what. If the knowledge about what is true and what is false is not there, one cannot come across true teaching. One will be bumping onto different kind of people claiming this and that. As long as the falsehood prevails within, there will be spirituality of falsehood. As long as demonic features prevail within oneself, such as fear, anger, jealousy, comparison, all kinds of negative features. So one will be only resonating with that type of spirituality, which is supporting one's notion of life, of world, of one's existence. How can one manifest something that is beyond their comprehension or awareness? They cannot. And that's where Kundalini awakening is not known to the majority. You can like, dislike what is said, but it is the fact that Kundalini awakening that people are talking about is a phenomena that is caused by different occult afflictions. One becomes aware of something. Let's say one's consciousness is triggered, or one's mechanism is triggered through exercises, through whatever practices they do, forceful practices. And then their pituitary gland is overstimulated, or pineal gland and pituitary is prematurely stimulated, and they perceive something on a subtler level. And if you call this awakening, this is not an awakening, it's just a trigger. But then there is no knowledge, awareness, and means within oneself to deal with this subtler reality. So many people end up in a mental hospital, or just life just sort them out naturally, or they get entrapped and suffer all kinds of afflictions within. because they are afflicted, and so far the awakening for them means awakening to the afflictions. So all they will see is afflictions. In order to truly experience spiritual awakening, one needs to refine self through life, through many lives, to reach to the point where these afflictions are manageable, or one can easily understand their nature and let go. As long as one is caught up in a drama, and this drama is eating oneself from a life from within, they are not able to understand what true spiritual awakening is. And such triggers through drugs, through all kinds of psychedelics, through vigorous exercises or anything like that will not lead anywhere. Even if you have some kind of symptoms of increased metabolic function of your glands, or some kind of heat, or some kind of subtle phenomenon, if you become aware of your subtle body, but this subtle body is unrefined. It's like a ghost which is not aware of itself. And so this subtle being is filled with pollution, energetic pollution, emotional corruption, mental corruption, intellectual corruption. As long as this corruption is there, all you will be perceiving and awakening to more and more is to this corruption. But being aware of this corruption doesn't mean that you've refined it. And the difficulty of the path is in refinement. Some people refine themselves on gross emotional level, and so they awake to sattva impurities. These sattva impurities are all the conceptual knowledge, all the preconceived ideas about spirituality, deep spiritual narcissism, all kinds of forms of imagination, hallucination, different entities they come across, and they don't know what they are. They can present themselves as gods, demons, whatever, and people fall for it because they still do not have that higher awareness, guidance, and protection to realize what phenomena they're dealing with. And so even on the subtler level, the traps are strong, or the traps are very obvious. The more you project on spirituality, on your own being, the more you want to become something, the more you will be entrapped until you realize that the trap lays within you. And if you don't know how to deal with traps, how to deal with all the subtle phenomena and subtle realities you supposedly awoke to, you will be just either drained, sucked dry, or confronted with different forces, manipulated, or end up in a mental hospital. There's no other way, because for other way to be there, one needs to emanate purity. One needs to emanate honesty. Honesty to self, first of all, and truth. Truth means one's awareness is emanating fully from the source outwards, without any conditioning, without any any veils, any conditionings, any ideas, how can it appear to others? Because one is always honest at all times. And so when you look at Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, which is a Siddha teaching, you see that these are prerequisites. Yoga, the ability to be in absorption, which is a natural ability of any being, to be absorbed when the mind, the conscious power is drawn within. And the mind dwells within itself, or the conscious dwell, whatever the words, you are within yourself, you experience natural being. So that is the prerequisite, this is the beginning. If you are able to maintain yourself in an absorbed way, you are able to see what is what. And with time, you're able to learn and tell the weeds from the wheat. So this is the prerequisite which leads one to natural contentment, wholesomeness, and gradually through refinement to being true within self and within the reality. So when this is there, Through this, one refines self more, purifies self on all the levels, and then becomes an eligible vessel, a pure vessel to contain that grace which is always there. Shaktipat is that grace which is at all times there. It's like being connected with the existence. Existence is nothing that we think of. It's not of light or darkness or this or that. It's beyond human understanding of reality. So if you're a particle and you perceive reality, what is it for you? The particle has no eyes, no ears, no nothing. And then you perceive that which is the existence. You are the existence. Then you are eligible to receive Siddha teaching and knowledge of the previous yugas. At this point of time, it's very difficult to know anyone who will come even to this point of eligibility to be able to not only receive that grace, Shaktipat, but to also contain it and refine and evolve further. Most of the people have to refine themselves on gross emotional levels so that they can come to the evolutionary point of even being able to manifest something beyond the current corruption or the current corrupt spirituality. So the more we corrupt, the more corrupt spirituality we will manifest in this world through ourselves, or the others will manifest and we will support it with our own consciousness, because after all, we're all connected as a collective. And as long as we want to be special, as long as we want our spiritual narcissism be petted, as long as we think that the more mantras we accumulate, the more some kind of information we contain or certificates that it defines our spiritual being, we are delusional and absolutely corrupt and dwell in falsehood. But it's all right, because this is the age of corruption. This is not the age of knowledge. And why I'm saying this is just to make people aware, not to make them strive or try to get to some level. There is no level. So far, it is the level of sorting out own dirt. Carry your sack of potatoes, become aware of it, and sort it out first. Get rid of it. After that, start going into yourself and realize what is equanimity. Through this equanimity, through this absorption, equanimous absorption, you are able to either refine self and see what is there yet to refine further, or you just get stuck and you think that bliss and absorption is the achievement. No, it's a tool for refinement. If your intelligence doesn't evolve, if your body doesn't refine along with the conscious refinement, there is no any progress and no evolution. This evolution will not be tagged or stamped with a certificate, will not be known as something that you want it to be known for. It is something that is beyond any tags, any rewards. Spirituality is beyond any tags and rewards. And as long as you're looking for tags, rewards, certificates, and your spiritual curriculum to be filled up more, you're on a path of self-corruption, delusion, and possible self-deception. Not possible, actually. Everyone at this point of time is on the path of self-deception, because they cannot acknowledge the fact that the deception is within. All they know of themselves is the corruption. And now when they awake, when the mind turns within and gets absorbed and awakes to self, all this corruption comes to the surface and they have to deal with it. Yet they don't want to deal with it. They want a quick fixes. They want a magic. They want a power. True power is humility. And only when one reaches that realization, one is able to actually come in contact with the true being and true power. Otherwise, true knowledge conceals itself, is not available to anyone. it protects itself by the power of its own purity. And as long as one is not pure enough to resonate with that, one will not be able to perceive it. Thank you.